Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Mark, I'm a youth leader from East Mains Baptist Church, and I just want to share a brief thought with you today. You know, probably one of the most skipped over Bible passages, and yet one of my favourites, is found right at the beginning of the book of Matthew. The genealogy of Jesus. Now, like me, you've probably got to this part in the Bible and just skipped right down past all the names and tried to get on with the rest of the story. But actually, this genealogy is more than just a list of names. There's so much more to it. As has been said before, Advent is all about waiting. This genealogy, it shows us that there's been a long time of waiting for the coming Messiah. Back in those days, a genealogy was basically your resume. You would take off all the bad names within your descendant line and you would leave the good names and say, hey, this is who I'm related to, and you would try to impress people with it. But not here in Matthew. Here in Matthew, we see a genealogy unlike any other ancient genealogies. Initially, we might notice names like David and think, okay, King David, a good name to have in your genealogy. And we might notice the importance of David being in this line. In John 7, verse 42, it says, "Does not Scripture say that the Messiah will come from David's descendants and from Bethlehem, the town where David lived?" And so we notice the importance of David being in this line. But looking closer, we notice some strange things. Firstly, 5 women are mentioned. Now, it's not unusual to us today, but back then, women were gender outsiders. They weren't mentioned in these kind of lists, but they are mentioned in Jesus' genealogy. Secondly, most of these women were Gentiles and were seen as unclean by the Jews. So they were also racial outsiders, and yet they are mentioned in Jesus' genealogy. There's some other weird things in here too. Have you ever noticed that when Matthew mentions David, he says, David was the father of Solomon, whose mother was Uriah's wife? It's a bit strange. Why doesn't he just say whose mother was Bathsheba? He's already mentioned women's names before. Why not this time? Well, I think by drawing our attention back to the sinful moment when David killed Uriah and took his wife, Matthew reminds his readers that it was out of this dysfunctional family and morally flawed man that the Messiah came. Within this genealogy, we see moral outsiders like Rahab, David, and Judah. We also see cultural, racial, and gender outsiders. So what does this show us? Well, first, it shows that people who are excluded because of their culture, gender, race, and moral failures can be brought into Jesus' family. It shows us that we can come to Him regardless of who we are and what we've done, no matter how morally stained we are, and He can make us pure as snow. Maybe you feel like an outsider. Well, friend, with Jesus, there are no outsiders. You are welcomed in and called a child of God. I hope this Advent and Christmas season you will take time to read through the genealogy of Jesus and find out who each person is and hear about their stories. It will blow your mind when you realize that they are mentioned in Jesus' genealogy. God bless you guys and have a great Christmas.